Hello everybody, I'm Mike Connell, founder of Boston Making a Difference, here with another episode of BMAD Spotlight. We have with us today a couple of guests that have been on before, but their work is so important, we're happy to bring them back. I have Sheila Wilson from Stop Healthcare Violence and Holly Brown from Looking and Feeling Fab. Ladies, how are you today?
Good, how are you?
Thank you.
I'm great, thank you. Why don't we talk a little bit about what's going on in the world of healthcare and nurses, and Sheila, we'll start with you. Tell us a little bit about what's going on.
Well, first of all, thanks for having us back on, Mike. This is really important. Just so the audience knows, I'm the CEO of Stop Healthcare Violence. I have a website, stophealthcareviolence.org, if they want to check it out. And they can certainly get in touch with me. They can email me at Sheila, spelled Sheila W6 at Comcast.net. Now, with that over, let me tell you, the nurses are doing better. There's less covert patients in most of the hospitals, but that doesn't mean that they aren't ill or in the units or anything else. They're still having a hard time. They all get one mask. I shouldn't say all, because these are only the hospitals that I talk to. Recently, there was a big article in Newsweek about the nurses opened up a closet and found all the N95s sitting there in boxes, and they're all excited. They thought new. And when they opened up a box, they were all used. So whether they were doing anything, I don't know who would save N95s. Of course, the institutions say that they didn't say it. They're not responsible for any of this. So that's still up in the air. And then there's all sorts of things that go on. It's nurses are getting damaged because the one mask that they have to staple if it breaks. So that really makes it a little bit harder. You know, I can't imagine what it's like to have it on your face with a staple in the middle of it. These are just all the things. Plus, the nurses don't all get tested. So they're in the hospital, they're working, and they haven't been tested. So I think the first thing is you have to ask the nurse, when was the last time you were tested for the virus? Was it negative? Because you don't know if she has it. And if she feels good and she's just a carrier. Those are just a few of the little things that are going on. And they're short-staffed, so they're asked to do more time. So that's a short version of what's happening.
Well, I know after the last time, when we had our BMAD Spotlight on with the nurses, and I called the hospitals, to complain, to say, I wanted to voice a complaint that the nurses should be given new equipment as often as needed. And they claimed that they did, that it wasn't true. And, so all I could do is just say, well, I'm voicing my complaint. So, but you're right, they'll deny it if that's what's going on, so.
I have one person I know that's a nurse in a hospital further down south. Her N95 mask is the same one that she had in March. So I don't know. And, I've worked in the hospitals long enough that I know what an administration has to do, some of why they have to do it, and I'm not blaming administration per se, but there's something that the nurses are at the bottom of the list, and they're the ones, if you walk in there, they're the ones that are going to take care of you. They leave their own homes to live in a dorm room or in a hotel room so that they don't infect their parents or their kids or their husbands or wives or whatever, to treat strangers. That is really passion. And it's tough, and this is the way that they're treated.
It's not right. Never mind not fair, it's just not right.
Right, it's not. And you wonder if any of these people have nurses as family members. Or are the nurses even talking about it? Because the nurses don't say much, and that's why we get into trouble with the violence. They say, well, he's having a bad day. We make an excuse for them after they beat the living daylights out of us. But, that's still work to be done there. If anybody wants to help, That would be grand.
How can we help? Tell the audience what they can do to help.
Well, there's a lot of things. Number one is to really, if they have any nursing members, to talk to them and ask them, do you get assaulted? Do you get hurt? What happens about it? And maybe it's my age, because I know why nurses don't write out incident reports, because there's no fallback on it. Then you go and you could talk to the police. The police are always pretty good, and we were always allowed in the hospitals that I worked at to call the police. Some hospitals absolutely refuse that option. Do not call the police. And just make sure it's out in the public eye to ask questions and to ask, why aren't these masks there? That's abuse. I mean, but there's lots and lots of things that people can do, and it's to keep it in the light that happens. And there's not too much in the newspapers or anything else. So it's like a dead issue. And why aren't all healthcare workers getting tested for the COVID virus? It should be mandatory before they go to work. And then the other thing I find, Mike, is that there are nurses that do test positive, but they feel well, and they're welcome back to work. So now you have a nurse that is positive, but can still go to work. Now, does that make sense?
That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I don't know. What are they thinking?
These are all the ins and outs. And after Holly gets introduced, I'm going to show you some of the pictures of the nurses that had to wear their masks and the facial masks. And I don't know if Holly has any around the house that she's pretty prepared when she does her patients as well. I only have to wear one surgical mask in occupational health that I work at. So that's, but thank you for asking, what can the public do? And they can check out my website. They can share the videos like BMAD. That would be awesome. Just to give everybody the insight as to what's happening to the healthcare workers. And not just nurses, the respiratory, the EMTs, the paramedics that go out, we're all the same. They're really one big team. But I do want to say one more thing before you get a Holly on. One of my friends went to apply for a job, and she was not really new, but she didn't have a whole lot of experience. And she went and she spoke to the administrator. And so the administrator said, you're going to come, if you want the job, and if we hire you, you will be the one nurse for 27 patients in the evening. 27 patients. And she said they are all, they have some type of brain problems. Either they've been injured or whatever. And she says, if they hit you, too bad. There is no recourse for it. So if there's no training in how she was supposed to approach these people, and then her pay was less, it was terrible. But those are the jobs that are being offered. So people think nurses are making big money. They aren't.
All right. So, Holly, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're doing with the nurses?
Okay, sure. So a little bit about me. So I am the executive director, founder of a charity called Looking and Feeling Fab. And we are licensed estheticians and licensed massage therapists. And we offer treatments to people who are undergoing treatment for cancer. So as estheticians, we are oncology certified. So we specialize in treating the different side effects from cancer treatment, like radiation burns, dryness, different issue with scars and skin healing and whatnot. So during the pandemic, when we were unable to work, we wanted to find a way to continue to give back. And since I am a board member on Sheila's charity, because I also feel like it's such a important cause, we got together and kind of brainstormed and thought, how stress and wearing the face masks and being in that type of environment has such implication to affect the skin that why don't we team together and put together some care packages for the nurses, and that way, you know, it's something that they can feel good about for themselves. So that's what we did, and it ended up being a good hit off with them, and we found that the creams and stuff were very helpful in preventing a lot of the irritation they were getting from the masks and stuff. And so we we've come together to kind of brainstorm and collaborate how we can maybe do more or different events to help these nurses who are working on the front lines.
Well, Holly, do you want to mention that in the future that you have offered about the massages and the facials to the nurses?
Yeah, so we figured we would have a day where we invite the nurses to come and get a half an hour either facial or massage, and we'll give them little goodie bags with products and whatnot in it, and be, let them at least have a half an hour for themselves where they can kind of de-stress and enjoy the treatment.
That's really nice. Give them a break, that's great.
Yeah. So just to go over a little bit, so stress really can have an impact on the skin. So when people are in stressful situations, they're not eating properly and they're not sleeping. And even though a lot of people think of their skin as what might go on it or environmental toxins that affect the outside, the skin is just as infected by what goes on inside. And so when you are stressed, your body feels that it's under attack, and it creates an inflammatory response, which increases cortisol protection, which weakens the immune system, and it can unmask certain conditions that you might already have, like eczema, psoriasis, or you can actually have a flare of these conditions. So another thing is elevated cortisol can stop the production of collagen and elastin, which leads to an increase in fine lines and wrinkles. Stress creates adrenaline, which causes people to sweat. And so the sweat decreases fluids in the body, leading to dehydration, making your skin dry and flaky. So there's a whole aspect of how the stress has a direct effect on the skin.
Right. Can I show you the pictures that I got off the internet today?
Sure.
That's this is one picture. Can you see this? Oh,
Yeah.
that better? Clearer?
Yep.
This is a girl that had to wear a mask, maybe two of them. It looks like an N95 would be first, and then maybe a face shield. Do you wear face shields?
Yes.
Yeah, so that she might be a 12-hour. Then here's somebody else that what he has, his nose and his forehead. This is what's happening, Mike. And this is why, I think part of why Holly and I got involved in trying to do something, just her statements on the skin. Look at this, just from a mask.
Yeah, that's pretty tough. I know when I wear it, I get so sweaty and my glasses fog up. It's hard.
Yeah, my glasses fall off when I have the mask on. Here's a young girl that decided to take a selfie of herself with her marks. Looks like on her cheeks. And then I have the last one here. I hope that this will help the public understand that this is what they go home with. You see that?
I do, yeah.
Now, what do you have one girl that we had that I talked to a lot. She got a goodie bag from Holly Brown, and she said that there was, I think the eye cream in it helped her skin so that it stayed intact. So Holly, could you talk a little bit about the medications that you gave, the creams?
Sure. So we do a lot of treatments with radiation burns, and we use a lot of essential oils. So we have actually a mixologist that is part of the charity who mixes the essential oils for us. So just to backtrack a little bit, a lot of people shy away from using essential oils, thinking that the oil is going to do clogging, which it's not the oil that actually causes the clogging. It's a heavy wax carrier that it's often mixed with. So for that reason, we mix our own, well, we have it done in a lab, but we are able to control what ingredients we use and be sure that we use the best of the oils. And the most important thing is that we mix it with an all natural carrier. So a lot of the essential oils that have been around for thousands of years have a lot of healing properties. So for instance, we often use grapeseed oil as a natural carrier, and grapeseed oil actually reduces swelling faster than any other product you'll find on the market. So here's something that's all natural, comes from the earth, and has been around for thousands of years and works better than anything else you'll find. So in our work treating radiation burns and different sores and rashes and dryness that come with treatment from cancer, we kind of applied that to, where inflammation is caused by the rubbing of the mask on the face and eventually breaks down the skin where it opens up or cuts the skin. And so we took those products that we use for the radiation burns that we know have been effective and said, well, if they're having, the same kind of type of damage, then let's apply that to their faces and see if we can prevent it from happening. So we actually have been a part of a scientific study that was written up by a research doctor where we pre-treated people 2 weeks prior to the start of radiation, and we followed about 15 people through 30 plus radiations with very minor irritation. So there's stats out there that say 85% of people who undergo radiation develop a moderate to severe burn. So for us to be able to prevent that by treating ahead of time, that is so important. So we kind of applied the same thinking to the nurses. So if we keep applying and apply the creams and the oils prior to them having to go for a 12-hour shift with the mask on, hopefully we can hydrate the skin enough that we can stop that irritation from happening.
That's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah. And sorry, so if there are nurses out there that are having issues that their skin's breaking down from the mask, by all means, please feel free to reach out to me or Sheila. They can go to our website, www.lookfeelfab.org, or they can email me at holly@lookfeelfab.org. And we're happy to, help people. The skincare companies that we work with are very generous and actually make a commitment to the charity, which means that we donated a lot of samples and whatnot that we're able to give out at no cost.
That is awesome.
That is, that's great. So ladies, it's quite obvious you both make a great impact in people's lives, especially nurses right now who need it. There are angels here on earth. Sheila, I know you're one of those angels. And Holly, what you're doing makes you an angel as well. It's good that people are helping. If there's anything we can do, like donate money to get masks, so that they have a better supply, those kind of things, let us know.
Well, you can always email me, and I will respond to anybody that wants to donate anything. We're always working and trying to find things, and I think Holly and I will be working very well together, and with the master nurses that we work with already, if we could give them a half hour of pampering so that, at the end of the roads, after this virus is over, the PTSD, the suicide, the depression, you can't be treating patients and have them die on you all the time. And that's what's happening with the COVID. But, you know, sometimes some hospitals, they put a song on the loudspeaker every time somebody gets extubated, meaning the tube to save their life is pulled out. So at least that gives the nurses a little bit of a, you know, a smile. And so if more, you know, they've received lunches and everything else, but sometimes they just need a hands-on and a little more pampering than than any of that. But that, anything, just write us and ask us, and we'll tell them what the way you need.
And I'd just like to share one response that I did get in an email from one of the nurses that received the goodie bag. She said, you know, people are dropping off food all the time for us and different things, which is so well appreciated. But what you gave us was for us. It made us feel good. And so that was so powerful when I read that, and it just made such an impact of why we do this.
Right, right. It is. You don't realize how important it is for them. And just to finish off, Michael, these nurses, when they're in the grocery store, also get assaulted. They get assaulted on the trains, on the buses, because people think they're bringing in the covert. You know, they're coming home from work in the same uniforms that they wore all day, and most of them wear the uniform, leave it, you know, put it in a bag, bring it home and wash it, and they have clean clothes on. There's no reason for this violence. That's what happens. But I really appreciate you having us on.
I'm happy to. You ladies are doing God's work here on earth for us, and we all appreciate that. And, you know, if you're out there, you know, contact Sheila and Holly and, you know, help out any way you can. Nurses need our help and our support, and anything we can do to make their lives easier is something we should do now. So thanks again for being on BMAD Spotlight. Until the next one, ladies, thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Mike. It's a pleasure.
Take care now.
Thank you.